Many of us spend our whole life in search of purpose, desperately seeking meaningful ways to make a difference in the world with the short amount of time we are given. The Deploying High podcast has been designed to help you analyze what gives you purpose.
Welcome to Deploying High. I am Chief Gene Saunders, your host. I am the CEO and founder of Project Lifesaver International. Today, we are privileged to have a young lady who has been with us on several of our conferences and has conducted a very popular breakout session called the Dementia Experience. I have known her for several years. She's a delightful young lady, and I'd like to welcome her to our podcast, Miss Courtney Sanchez. Hi, Courtney.
Hello. Hi, Chief. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. So how was your holiday?
Good. It's busy, but good.
Well, that's busy is always good.
Yep.
Listen, just so the listeners, and also this will be on YouTube as well, just so they got to get to know you, tell us a little about yourself. Are you a native Floridian? Did you go to school here? Just expound on you.
Okay, sounds good. Yes, I am a native Floridian. We're very, very hard to find. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida, actually. Moved up to Port St. Lucie, actually, where you guys are headquartered, when I was a teenager. And I actually went to school locally there at Centennial High School there in St. Lucie West. I'm now up in Vero Beach, just a county up. And I've been here for about 8 years, where I've been in assisted living facilities for many years, since I was about 17 years old. Right after I graduated high school, I was volunteering at one and then became a actual staff member there. Fell in love with the seniors, and I've been working with seniors ever since. And I found myself volunteering for this organization, the Alzheimer and Parkinson Association. And then it was very organic that I became a staff member years later. I've now been with them officially 4 years, still working with seniors with dementia and movement disorders. And I'm very, very privileged and honored to be part of this organization.
Well, I'm sure they're very privileged to have you. Let's talk for a minute about dementia in this area and what you see as a national view. Is it increasing, decreasing? How do you see it?
It's definitely increasing, especially as the next generation is starting to get older. We're starting to see many being diagnosed earlier. And, the reason why so many people are hearing Alzheimer's nowadays is because we're aging, we're getting older, and we're living longer as older adults. And so it's becoming more prominent as we get older. But also, I think a lot of it is the education that is being done in this country as far as what dementia is, what Alzheimer's is, what brings it on. And so because so many more people are aware of it, more are getting diagnosed with it. Whereas before, it could be that just as many people had it, it's just we weren't so much aware of the disease. But now that we are, and we're finding the help we needed a lot sooner, we're seeing more and more cases. In Indian River County alone, we think that there's over 7,100 people that might have it. So the need is definitely out there.
Yes, and when you talk about the education and the learning, in 1992, I took over as the chief of training at my police department. And at that time in the Commonwealth of Virginia, there was no training on Alzheimer's or dementia in police academies. So I have seen it come, I guess you could call it of age, but I don't know if you would agree with me or not, but I just don't think it's totally there yet as it should be. Because I think a lot of officers are starting to encounter more with dementia and not really realizing or recognizing it for what it is. And I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Many officers go through what's called CIT training, which is very, very similar to like the dementia experience that we offer. But that's for a wide range of different mental illness so that they could truly, understand what's going on when they approach someone. the Dementia Experience that my organization offers does train those officers specifically about what someone with dementia is going through, what behaviors that they might encounter, so that they can approach a person on the street that might appear drunk and disorderly, but after a series of questions may realize, oh, this person might have dementia. And that's why the training is so imperative for law enforcement, especially in this country where this disease is more prominent. We're actually undergoing training right now. We've had the privilege in Indian River County to train all of our law enforcement, both police and sheriff. In fact, right now we're in the midst of retraining our Indian River County Sheriff's Office. Hundreds of deputies are actually going through this training. We just started beginning of January, and it's been about 7 years since we trained them before. So it was about due for a refresher. And I hope other counties are as proactive with this type of training, because it is imperative that they know that these people that they're approaching are in this position. They do have this disorder or disease. What's happening is not their fault. They have no control over what's happening. So that law enforcement can approach them accordingly so as to have a best case scenario outcome.
I couldn't agree with you more. I know I initiated the Alzheimer's training in the academy, and a lot of other Virginia agencies also did. And just to throw a plug in there for you all, I'm very proud to say that your organization is a member of Project Lifesaver and supports it as we support you. Now, let me, zone right in on something here. Parkinson's. And why would I have such an interest in Parkinson's? And you probably know the answer to this, but just for our listeners, my mother-in-law passed away a little over a year ago from Parkinson's. Now, a lot of people know Parkinson's as a disease or a condition that causes involuntary movement and some of those kind of things. But I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, and that's why I'm throwing this to you, I don't think a lot of people understand that Parkinson's is dementia. And one of the things that I saw firsthand was how my mother-in-law went into dementia with Parkinson's. So comment on that, if you will, kind of
Absolutely.
Bring that out a little bit more for me.
Yeah, so Parkinson's can bring on a type of dementia. So dementia is really an umbrella term. And what it is it's cognitive impairment that a lot of times people do associate with things like memory loss. However, there's hundreds of different types of dementia out there. The most prominent being Alzheimer's disease, which takes up about 70 to 80% of what dementias that are diagnosed. However, there is a dementia brought on by Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's disease is a neurological disease, just like Alzheimer's, that can bring on dementia, and sometimes more specifically can bring on a type of dementia called Lewy body dementia. There's so much out there right now that you can read about and discover, but there's a lot of people, I agree with you, that don't realize that people with Parkinson's, they can sometimes get into dementia, sometimes not necessarily, because Parkinson's is more associated with movement than it is memory. But since they're both neurological disorders, it can absolutely go into a type of dementia later on in the disease process. And you're right, a lot of people are not aware of that fact. And so the more education we can provide, the better equipped we are to be able to handle situations.
Yeah, I observed a number of situations with my mother-in-law that certainly were in the dementia spectrum, which was, it was sad for my wife and I, but I think that kind of needs to be brought out because a lot of people don't understand it. And I'm glad you clarified the thing about dementia being an umbrella because of all the other things that fall under there, like Pick's disease and Lewy body and all the other things because I think a lot of people misunderstand it and feel like Alzheimer's is dementia. Well, not necessarily. It is a dementia. And I think you were dead on in doing that, and I appreciate it. Now, one of the things that I saw in the assisted living that my mother-in-law was in, and gradually had to move into memory care. A lot of memory cares, I think, are having a hard time getting people into that kind of environment where they are taken care of. Do you find that to be true? Or are more of them being kept at home now?
Yeah, so unfortunately, there's so many factors, with that. That's definitely a loaded question. I've come from both ends of it because I actually used to be a director of a memory care facility, and I was in assisted living facilities for about 15 years. And now being part of this organization, I see it from the caregiver's point of view also. So yeah, I agree. There's a lot of people that for one reason or another, whether it be stereotypes about what memory cares are. Everybody has this horrible image in their head about how a nursing home is, not realizing that nursing homes, memory cares, assisted living, they all are very different. There's also the financial piece. They are expensive, these facilities to be in if you don't have a long-term care policy for your loved one. So there's a lot of barriers and challenges in order to get your loved one into a facility. So as a result, many caregivers do wind up keeping loved ones home. However, one of the things that our organization does here in Indian River County is to educate that caregiver different ways to be able to be in a facility, how to get some financial aid, but then also kind of get rid of that stigma. Having worked in facilities, I was in actually their programs department. I was their director for many different facilities, and I loved my residents. They were my grandmas and my grandpas, and I saw how well we took care of them, how the CNAs truly cared. So I really see it from the flip side, and I try to tell people that, don't be worried about that until you try it, until you go in and you see it and you truly go in it, because of course there are those facilities out there that have made news headlines and have given them a bad name. But having worked in one myself, I know how great they were taken care of and how much we loved them. We were one big family. So I always, tell caregivers to absolutely go through the process, tour around, take a look at the environment. How does it smell? How does it look? How are people interacting with each other? And that can really give you a true sense of how this facility is. And don't be afraid to put your loved one in a facility. So many caregivers have the stigma that they are abandoning their loved one if they go into a facility. But one of the things that this country, I think, really needs to realize is there is a thing such as caregiver burnout, where caregivers, they're doing too much. It's too much on themselves, especially as older adults. We're taking care of our parents. We might have our own health problems. We may have kids and grandkids we're taking care of, and it can all be too much. So what the facilities are there for is to help and to avoid that caregiver burnout. That way, this senior with any type of disease can get the help that they're needed and that they're kept safe. That's really the ultimate goal, is to really help the community as a whole, not just the senior with the disease, but also the caregiver.
I'm so glad you brought that out, Courtney, because you see a lot of caregivers of dementia patients that are as old or older than the people that they're caring for. And one of the things that I've had the occasion to learn in my experience with it is a very hard job, and it is a 24-hour-a-day job, because you never know what kind of situations are going to be brought on by this dementia, such as, of course, what we deal with, the wandering, but there's a lot of other things in there. And I'd kind of like for you to touch on what other kind of things can be brought on as far as physical characteristics or behaviors by someone with dementia.
So of course, these seniors that are getting dementias are seniors. So they're naturally going to have the same ailment that any senior would get. Of course, they deal with visual changes, hearing changes, physical changes. And so on top of that, someone with dementia, and part of what our dementia experience that we offer really gives perspective into this, is they're getting changes, of course, with their brain starting to break down. Different nerves that were connected are not connected anymore. They start to experience a loss of peripheral vision. Sometimes they have tunnel vision, and then they have other complications like macular degeneration and things that they're dealing with. And then with hearing, if they don't have hearing loss, sometimes they have hypersensitive hearing, which is one of the things that we simulate in the dementia experience, where someone's trying to talk to you, but the TV's on in the background and the phone is ringing and maybe an alarm is going off, someone's talking. And so it all sounds like a big jumbled mess to them, and they can't differentiate between background noise and what's happening right there in front of them. Depth perception can be off with their vision. A dark rug might appear to be a hole in the ground, and so they might try to jump or go over it, or they don't know how to do a step down. So all these changes that are happening in the brain make it very, very difficult for them to live their daily life. And then, of course, there's the physical deterioration, which might attribute to them needing something beyond the care that the caregiver can provide, as you described, Chief. And so they might need something like skilled nursing or memory care to help out with that. Because as you said, many caregivers, they're aging themselves and they may have their own health issues, and it is a lot. And that's really where facilities come into play, whereas this caregiver, this was brought on to them. However, a facility has professional staff that was trained to deal with these types of situations, both physically and mentally, because it is a full-time job and it can be very wearing on that caregiver, both physically and mentally. And so burnout can happen very easily. And one of the things our organization does is we do offer this dementia experience and other types of training, not only to private and personal caregivers, but also to those professional caregivers. Here in Indian River County, we actually go to all the different facilities and we put them through this dementia experience. That way, these professional CNAs, nurses, caregivers can actually truly understand what their residents are going through and try to provide the best type of experience and staffing possible. So that way, the caregiver who is now resting at home can get a good night's sleep knowing their loved one is in good hands.
Very good, very good. There's one thing that I would also like to bring out, and I'm sure you would agree, is with somebody with dementia, you also have to be careful of frustration leading into physical aggression. Of course, I've had to experience that a number of times as a police officer. Fortunately, I understood what it was, but I also saw it in a memory care unit. One night, my wife and I were in there visiting my mother-in-law, and one of the CNAs was starting to be physically assaulted by one of the dementia patients. And maybe I shouldn't have, but I stepped in and was able to calm the person down, bring them back to a more mellow state, if you want to call it that. But I think that is something, and we teach police officers all the time, is the safety measures. When you're talking to a person with dementia, safety things you can do, and one of the things we teach, and please, feel free to jump in as I'm talking here, because is eye contact. Teaching them to have solid eye contact. Speaking in plain, simple terms. Speaking slowly, not, super slow, but slow enough that they can comprehend and not use a sentence with 2 or 3 answers that's going to be involved.
Exactly.
Practice safety, keep your gun away from them. Just those little simple type things. And I think it goes a long way in my estimation. And with that, I kind of like to segue into, tell me, what is the dementia experience?
So everything you just touched on is exactly what we teach in the dementia experience. So what the dementia experience is, we've actually partnered with a wonderful organization called Educate. And what they do is they offer senior classes for caregivers to help them understand. One of them is called Dementia Live, what we call our dementia experience, that we've actually partnered with them on that. And so what it is it's an experience brought on by different type of equipment that we put on the personnel going through it. We put gloves on them to disable their sense of touch. different glasses on to impair their vision, and then headphones to impair their hearing. And in the headphones, you hear voices and noises and things that you might hear on a everyday. What I was talking about before, how you're unable to really differentiate between background noise. And then what we do is we give them a series of tasks to do, simple one-step, two-step tasks to do. And really what it makes the person realize, what it puts into perspective is how difficult it is for someone with dementia to actually live their lives, even doing simple tasks. After that, what we do is we do a debrief discussion with them where we explain to them what it is that they just went through and how it's relevant to whatever their job title is at that time. With law enforcement especially, we talk about different behaviors that someone with dementia might be going through. So you mentioned a few already, Chief. Of course, there's the wandering, which plays a vital role with the reason why we need Project Lifesaver so much in this country. It's such a wonderful organization to be able to offer these ones, because wandering is a very big behavior that someone with dementia might experience. They might also see things like aggression that you mentioned before. They might be repetitive. They might repeat questions over and over again. And then, of course, there's the big one, memory loss. A lot of them do experience memory loss. They don't remember what day it is, what year it is, how old they even are, or what their name is. And that might come with other things, like they might not be able to put into words what they're trying to say. They might sound like they're speaking gibberish. They're not comprehending what you're saying, and they're not able to express what they're saying. And so we teach officers that go through this dementia experiences practical steps that they can do when approaching someone who may have dementia. Exactly what you said, Gene, getting down at their level. A lot of times it's better, like if they're in a wheelchair, for example, to just crouch down and be at their eye level, be able to look them in the eyes. That way you can tell this person's being honest with me. They're being true. You can always tell a person by their eyes. And we always tell them to have a friendly demeanor, which doesn't always come easy for some people, but we do try. Smiling is so, so important. And that's become especially difficult during these COVID times. We all have to wear face masks. However, you can see in the eyes if someone is smiling or not. Being able to speak to them in a soft yet clear, friendly voice, being able to enunciate your words so that they truly understand. As you mentioned, speaking slow to them and clear, being direct in your questions, maybe making simple yes or no questions instead of giving them a variety of choices, which might overwhelm or confuse them, which might then lead into some type of an aggression. So it's all about your approach with them. We always teach them a three-step approach to it, to validate what they say by just repeating it back, reassuring them by maybe giving them a compliment, reassuring them that they are safe, that we do understand, and then redirecting them. The redirection process is really that one that it sounds like you did right there in that nursing home. You were able to alleviate that situation, that aggression, by redirecting them. Sometimes giving them just a compliment. You look so beautiful today. Oh, I love that shade of blue on you. Sometimes that can kind of ease their mind. Asking them if they want to go do something together, like, oh, let's go get some ice cream while we wait for your mom to arrive. Not arguing with them, not bringing them into our reality, because their reality is so different from our reality. So having to get into their reality is one of the main points that we do tell law enforcement, because it's in their reality that's driven by emotions, that is where their comfort zone is. So we really have to adjust our behaviors and our tactics to them in order to get them to calm down and then hopefully be able to get some answers and get them to a safe place.
So true. And there's just two more I'd like to add, if you don't mind, that I've learned through experience. Don't surprise them. And I use the example, if you're coming up behind them, cut a wide arc. Yep. Don't come straight up behind them. Go around them and come straight into them. The other is, don't touch them unless you tell them that you're going to touch them and what it's for. Like I said, from experience, which sometimes is the hardest lesson, but it's one that stays with you for a long time. Well, let me ask you this. you're with it was the Alzheimer's and Parkinson's Association of Indian River County. Tell us about your organization.
So our organization is 100% local. So everything we do does stay here in Indian River County. Of course, we do partner with organizations such as Project Lifesaver to provide things that sometimes do benefit people outside of our county, which we're very, very happy to do and privileged to do. And we have the honor of providing services and programs for the residents of Indian River County that do suffer from different memory disorders and movement disorders. Our name does say Alzheimer and Parkinson's, but we are beyond that also. We don't help people just in those two different diseases, but really all that have memory loss or some type of movement disorder here in Indian River County. We offer almost 40 different programs here inside the county that include movement classes, such as Qigong, yoga, balance, exercise classes for those with movement disorders. We also offer social respite programs that allow people with different dementias to socialize and engage in activities all day long in 5 different locations here in the county. We have Project Lifesaver, of course, that we do partner with our sheriff for. We offer free memory screenings, support groups throughout the county, educational classes that we love doing, that we partner with a lot of organizations about, and so much more that we offer here in the county. We are honored to say that we offer all programs free in this county. We are housed completely by donations and grants and the wonderful generosity and philanthropy of Indian River County. And we try to help organizations in any way, shape, or form we can. A big component of that is our educational piece that we do bring to other organizations like facilities, law enforcement, banks, churches, schools, really trying to get the county. Our main goal is to make our county dementia friendly and also movement disorder friendly. And we know the way we can do that is by helping to educate the county while also providing these free services and programs to our seniors.
And as you said, you're able to offer it free because of the generosity of people. And if somebody wanted to donate, how can they do it?
So there's a couple of different ways that you can, and of course we appreciate all of them. We do have a website that you can go to, and I'm not sure if you guys are going to be posting this somewhere. What we can do is we can absolutely tag it in there and let you guys know when we're posting about this podcast. And we also, you can call us. We are local. We have a 772 area code. Our number is 563-0505. And you can speak with Miss Judy Lemoncelli. She's our senior director of development and marketing. And you can donate that way. We can also send you a packet in the mail that you can donate accordingly. And we appreciate any and all donations. We do hold annual fundraisers every year. Our biggest one being our Walk to Remember. We do offer in the fall, and it's here locally in Vero Beach at Riverside Park. And so we get a lot of donations there at the park, at the walk at that time also. And so we're grateful for anything and everything that the community does to help support us.
Well, make sure you keep us in the loop on all of those so we can post them on our social media and give people a heads up on what's coming. I know you work very closely with the sheriff's office and law enforcement, which is great. So let me ask you a really loaded question now. And you don't have to answer it if you don't want to. What's next for Courtney Sanchez?
Well, I hope I get to stay with this organization for so much longer. I feel like we've only reached a drop in the bucket in this county. There's so many other areas of the county that we can reach, so many more programs we can provide. The amount of people that we service every single year, we're at about a little over 2,000 that we just served last year, 2,000 individuals that we helped serve. And with the way the statistics are, there's so many more just in our county that do need help with both movement disorders and memory disorders. So I hope that we can reach so many more individuals here in our county with the free services we offer and expand and offer things that we aren't currently offering that are still a need in this county, whether they be actual programs for these individuals or even just education, because we want to make sure everyone, every caregiver in the county has the tools they need to be successful in this journey that they're going through with these seniors going through these different disorders. So I can't wait for what the future brings, and I hope to expand and really go to the future with this organization and with Project Lifesaver. That's one of the programs that we absolutely want to continue to grow in this county. We had about 80 people on the program in this county last year, 46 of which are still currently on the program, and I know so many more need it. We have so many autistic children in this county also that need Project Lifesaver. So getting the word out there is going to be our biggest goal for the future, to be able to make sure that everyone who needs these programs is getting them.
If there are any programs that you would like to see, like right now, what would they be? Can you think of any? I mean, right now?
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely, one of the things that we want to expand on is our movement disorder educational piece. So many of our educational classes that we currently offer are more geared towards the dementia side and those caregivers. So we definitely want to, and it's all in the works. So we're working on more educational classes for those who are newly diagnosed, who are just starting out on their journey with both movement and memory disorders, and then being able to help them and their caregivers on this journey with these different movement disorders. So that's definitely an area that we are looking to expound upon in the future. And then hopefully, being able to just touch all those bases, that if there is any gaps in what we're currently doing, that we're able to provide 100% of everything this county needs in the future.
Well, I wish the best for you and hope you get it. Well, I know you will, because of the drive and personality that you exhibit. There's one thing I would like to say, before we bring all this to a close, is one of the things I am seeing a lot of and have seen in the past few years, when people talk about dementia, we think about it as being an elderly, senior disease. Well, one of the things that seems to be coming in to some kind of focus now is early onset. Can you comment on that?
Absolutely, yes. We're seeing that more too, unfortunately. Early onset can start off very early. You're right. We just think about seniors when we hear about these different diseases. However, I've had people come into my office as young as 41 with early onset, both on the Parkinson side, but also on the dementia side. And so I think, like I said earlier, as we start to educate people more and more about these diseases, the more the signs are going to really be there, that people are starting to notice it at an earlier age. It's predicted that when someone is diagnosed with a disease such as Alzheimer's, that they've already had it for 10 years. So I think really identifying those signs, and we do actually offer classes in this county about what are the signs for Parkinson's, for Alzheimer's. What are those warning signs you should really look out for versus what's normal aging? And once you identify what those warning signs are, that's when we recommend you immediately go to a neurologist so that you can get officially diagnosed by a professional, because it is something that I feel like is going to be more prevalent as we start to learn more about these diseases and we start to see these signs either in ourselves or in others. The good news is the sooner you catch it, the better off you are, and you can seek medical treatment and see if there's any type of preventative measures or any type of procedures that can be done that can help slow down the process. There's so many case studies out there that are being done if you do catch it soon enough. So the earlier, the better. But I agree with you. I have a feeling that we might be seeing more of that. Hopefully we won't. But the better prepared we are, the better off we are all going to be as a community to be able to address these situations.
Do you think, again, from experience, a lot of families and even individuals, they see the signs, they pass them off as something else, because the feeling that I have gotten from a number of these individuals is, yeah, they know something's wrong, but they don't want anybody to tell them definitively that it is, because they feel like it's going to bring a whole different attitude toward them and for them. What is your take on that?
Yeah, we've seen that a lot, unfortunately, also. But, denial is a human imperfection that we're all dealing with. We all do it in our own little ways, where we notice certain things and we kind of put it off because ignorance is bliss and we don't want to know. But what we tell caregivers and how we combat that, really, because that is a challenge, and understandably so. It's so hard to see the person you love. It's hard to face that reality and see them deteriorate right before your eyes. And so the way we combat that challenge is, of course, through our educational piece with caregivers. How we tell them is there is those 5 stages, of grief that you're going through. And of course, denial is one of those. However, once you face that challenge head on and you know what you're dealing with, it's only then that you can move on. And in one of our classes, what we teach them is there's this new normal. And that's not a term that we're not unfamiliar with, especially now in these times, because we've been dealing with this pandemic for so long. We're all experiencing this new normal. Well, it's the same thing when you get diagnosed with these disorders. There's a new normal. And the only way you can start on that new journey, that new path of that new normal, is to know. You do need to know what you're dealing with. You do need to get it formally diagnosed. That way you can educate yourself on what could come to pass in the future. That way you're best equipped to handle it. Whereas opposed if we stick our head in the sand and we don't like to confront it straight on, it's going to be very, very difficult later on because we didn't educate ourselves about it. So the better off you are equipped by knowing, the better off you're going to be. And then that way you can truly approach this with a positive attitude and have a game plan with other professionals on how you're going to handle certain situations. And it's not coming as a surprise, because no one likes those bad surprises. And so it's just better to be prepared, for sure.
Very powerful message. Well put. I understand that you're going to be with us again this year at the conference.
Yes, we're very excited.
Well, we are too, because I can tell you it is one of the best received breakout sessions that we have. A lot of great compliments on it. And I think it's given a lot of people a whole new understanding. In fact, one of our ambassadors went through it. And I think you probably remember him, Max Gale.
Uh-huh.
He actually went through it, and he was playing an Alzheimer's patient. And he made the comment to me, he says, this has given me so much clarity and understanding in what they go through, which I think is going to enable me to give an even better performance, and words to that effect. And so I can see how valuable this particular exercise is, and we look forward to having you back at the conference. And of course, we look forward to our conference as well. So Courtney, it has been a real delight talking with you today. I hope to have you back in the future.
Me too. Thank you. It's been an honor.
Well, same with us. And it has been a delight working with you. And say hello to Peggy for me.
I will.
You will. So you have been listening to Deploying High. I am Chief Gene Saunders. I am the founder and CEO of Project Lifesaver International. If you have not already, please subscribe to our podcast through Spotify or other that we can notify you of if you so inquire. If you'd like to get the book, which is the namesake of our podcast, you can do so by going to the Project Lifesaver website and going to our merchandise store and ordering it. Again, thank you, and we look forward to hearing you or seeing you or whatever on our next podcast. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Deploying High podcast, bringing it all into view.